Jai Janendra. In the last class, we were talking about two new concepts in biology, eugenics and euphenics. Euphenics, as we know, is concerned about the measures taken after birth for improving the quality of population. And in this respect, we presented the principles and practices of Jain philosophy, which are very much conducive to improving the quality of individuals and the quality of society. Jain philosophy has a lot to offer in this respect, and we shall continue with that discussions in this lecture. We are mainly concerned with the behavioral traits of individuals, which improves the personality. And it's not the physical traits, as believed by science and tried through genetics. When we talk of the behavioral traits, I describe today some noble traits which are in fact virtues, and a person must imbibe these virtues, and this will improve his personality a lot and will also help the society to have a peaceful and a harmonious atmosphere. These traits produce a shine in the lifestyle and in the personality of a person. The first trait which we talk of is forgiveness and forbearance, what is known as Uttam Kshama. This is the biggest virtue a person can have, and that helps, to have a peaceful life and a life of full of happiness. There are occasions when a person often gets angry. This is a normal experience of every one of us. This may be due to conduct of others or by force of circumstances of not one's liking, So it is because of somebody else that you get angry, or there are circumstances, which makes you angry. In any case, you lose your balance and you become angry. And if you do so, you are hurting yourself, and you are also hurting the feeling of others. Angry is the enemy of happiness. You can't be happy if you are an angry person. So in order that you become a happy person, you have to give up this anger. It destroys the qualities of self-restraint and detachment. These qualities which are very much required for happiness, the self-restraint and detachment. These two important qualities are destroyed by anger. The person loses control of mind in the heat of anger. That is one thing that you have no more control on your own mind. Such persons may engage in misdeeds and crime. These things, when you are angry, you do something which is not good, or you commit a crime. So the person may rebuke the opposite party and may create physical violence. So this, you cause harm to other, in many ways. In such a situation, the person should maintain calm and peace of mind. That is the first thing which is to be done. When you are angry, try to be calm and try to maintain your peace of mind. This may be difficult, but one must try for it, because this is the best way to get over the anger. This is forbearance. If you do that, then you see this is the quality of forbearance, which is a prerequisite for forgiveness. Anger begets hatred, hatred begets enmity, and enmity is the cause of sustained misery in all parties concerned, whether you or the opposite party on which you are getting angry, So it's a chain of reaction, which is caused by the anger and leads you in a miserable state. Misery can be avoided by forgiving the other parties. That is the crux of this particular noble trait, that you must forgive the other party. They might have committed a fault, or they might have committed something which you don't like, because you can't have all the persons behave to your liking. This is not possible. So there are many things which you don't like in other people, but then the best way to overcome all these situations is to forgive the other party. Forgiveness is the biggest quality a person can have. Forgive him or her. Forgiving others relieves the person of tension, of hatred and guilt. So it will relieve your tension, because when you are angry, you are in tension, and the tension is the cause of many ills, physically and mentally. So the best thing is to forgive the other party. It will relieve your tension and will bring peace and happiness peace of mind and happiness in your life. Forgiveness is the greatest virtue and is the most powerful armor of a human being. It is the biggest virtue. It has been termed as the biggest virtue, if you can forgive others. There are two things, which is practiced in Jain philosophy. You beg forgiveness from the other party and forgive the other party. So it's a two-way traffic, and both must be practiced. You must beg forgiveness from all, because you yourself have committed many things, which the other people do not like. As you do, you do not like the other's actions, and so do the others. They don't like your actions. So beg forgiveness from all the parties and forgive the other party. This contributes, is considered to be the highest religion in the world, the forgiveness. A very good example of forgiveness is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, when crucified, said, forgive them, Father, they know not what they are doing or what they have done. So, although he was crucified, he said to his Father, don't do anything to them, They are ignorant people. They do not know what they are doing. So this is a great example of forgiveness, and this in fact must be practiced by all of us. The second noble trait is humility. Ego is the greatest enemy of a human being. Ego, pride, that kills the self, that the selfishness is, the people become so selfish, under the influence of ego and pride, that, they commit many kinds of sins. It prevents true knowledge, faith and understanding, If you are egoistic, you probably do not know the truth. You have the wrong knowledge. You are not able to grasp the right knowledge or the right thing. You do not have faith, do not have the proper understanding because ego comes in your way. Ego prevents the outlook, it breeds rudeness and bad temper. So the egoistic people, has a different outlook. He doesn't have the normal outlook, and he becomes rude to others, and he has a bad temper. A proud person becomes intolerant and blind to goodness in others, So, time and again, or at every small incident, he becomes intolerant, because his ego is hurt. And he becomes blind in goodness in others. He only sees the goodness in himself, He doesn't see the goodness in others. He becomes blind to them. He indulges in self-adulation and belittle others, He thinks he is the great person, So he will probably indulge in self-praise, and he thinks that the other people are nothing beyond against him or as compared to himself. He might demean others and invite anger and hatred. So he thinks that the other people are not equal to him or her, and naturally other people will be angry on him or will hate him. He involves in fruitless disputes and makes enemies of others, So he will enter into arguments, on every small thing, and he thereby makes enemies of others, that he is an argumentative person, and this becomes because of his pride and ego. Humility is the answer to ego, So answer to ego is humility. You must be a person, a humble person, and humility must be it should be part of your personality. Develop reverence for wise and virtuous and respect them. So, an egoistic person, doesn't respect others. He doesn't think that the other people are wise. He thinks that he is wise. So, you must develop reverence for wise people, the virtuous people, and respect them. This is a sign of humbleness. Humility is the way to gain right knowledge and good conduct. So if you are a humble person, you will know the things in the right perspective, and you will gain right knowledge of the objects and things, and it will help you to have a good conduct. The mind becomes free from prejudices and dislikes. So if you are humble, your mind is free from prejudices, and you don't have the feelings of dislikes and likes. The thoughts becomes pure. So your mind becomes pure. Your thinking is good. It enhances one's dignity and prestige. If you are a humble person, you will be considered as a dignified person, as a prestigious person, So you will enhance your own dignity and your own prestige. So humility is a virtue. Straightforwardness, another virtue, or a noble trait. A person should be straightforward and not cunning. Cunningness is anti to straightforwardness. Straightforwardness is consistency in thoughts, words and deeds. If you are consistent, that what you say you do, what you think you do, and there is no difference between your sayings and your actions, this is straightforwardness, and you are straightforward. So people can understand, if you say something, they will believe that yes, you will do the same thing. And cunningness brings disgrace and loss of personal prestige. So if you are cunning, naturally people will not believe you, and naturally it will bring you disgrace, and your prestige will go down. Straightforwardness is dealings evokes confidence and trust in others. So if you are a straightforward person, people will trust you and will have confidence in you, and there is no inconsistency in your behavior. So that way you gain a lot in the society. A simple person is likely to be honest with himself and with others. Honesty, is a big quality, and a simple person can be honest. A cunning person will not be honest. He will have some kind of dishonesty in his behavior, in his conduct. So you are honest to yourself as well as you are honest to others. A simple person shall have a peaceful mind and be free from anger. So this is one way to avoid anger, that you must be a simple person, a straightforward person, because a cunning person is likely to have anger also, and he will not have a peaceful mind. A straightforward person shall have no quarrels with others and be friendly with everybody. So you get into quarrels when you are a cunning person, because you are hiding something, you are not honest in your behavior. So, but a simple, straightforward person will have no quarrels on any ground and will be friendly with everyone. The fourth noble trait which you are talking is purity or uttam soch. A common person is busy in acquisition of wealth. This is normally most of the people are doing. In the pursuit of, and in this pursuit he may engage in passionate activities and impure thoughts. If you are busy collecting wealth, or acquisition of wealth, it's very likely that your thoughts are not pure. You have all kinds of evil thinking, and your activities are also passionate in the sense that the passions are driving your mind. The passions of lobe, what is the greed, and so on. He becomes unmindful of the harm he may cause to others. He's not worried about what you are doing to others, whether you are harming others. He just wants to accumulate wealth, and he wants to only fulfill his selfish wishes. Is not worried about the wishes of others. Life may become turmoil. In such case, he loses balance of mind and develops vengeance against others. All this brings misery, so he becomes miserable. Purity cleanses the mind from cravings and passions. So your mind becomes free of cravings, your mind becomes free of passions. if your thoughts are pure, and begets countless equanimity. Even conduct loses the equanimity, So impure thought is likely to have the person not a good conduct, So he will have a evil kind of conduct. Perfect faith and knowledge are essential for purity of thought and mind. So this is the one. You must have a faith and knowledge. This is necessary for purity. You must have a faith in whatever philosophy you believe in, or whatever religion you believe in, or whatever tradition you believe in. You must have faith in that, and must have a knowledge of what you are doing and what the philosophy and religion means. Purity cannot be achieved without these. So the pure mind, for pure mind, it is essential that you have faith and knowledge. Purity of mind is the noble virtue. And the last one which we are talking of is self-restraint, Uttam Sanyam. This is very important, Sanyam. Sanyam, normally means that you exercise restraint on your senses. Senses are the ones, which can push you in a very bad situation, So you must exercise restraint on your senses. Indulgence in sensual activities may bring temporary pleasure. You do derive pleasure, when you are engaged in sense fulfillment. For example, you want to see something good, you want to hear something good, you want to taste something good, and so on. So these are only temporary pleasures, but ultimately these will lead you to a miserable situation. All noble persons exercise restraint on sensual pleasure. This is in fact a prerequisite to goodness, or to be a great person, or to be a noble person, that you exercise restraint on your senses. This is good for physical and mental health as well, So this will improve your physical health and mental health, because your thoughts will become pure. And you will make a spiritual progress, which is very much required. Self-restraint is absenting from injurious thoughts and actions, and from indulging in sensual pleasure. As I just now mentioned, that you should not indulge in sensual pleasures, and must have good thoughts and actions. The power of self-restraint is derived from faith in religion, or at least in ethical conduct. So the religion is a strong power. It gives you a strong. It's a strong power. It's a strength. It controls your conduct. It controls your restraining power. Because if you have faith in religion, you are not likely to go astray and be away from the path of good conduct. So you, at least the ethical conduct, So the ethical conduct is very much required in order that you are able to exercise restraint on your senses, because an ethical person will not have this kind of sense gratification. The will for self-restraint is supported by company of noble persons and fine noble traditions. So if you want to have this kind of noble trait, you must keep company of good people, virtuous people, and you must follow good moral traditions. Today we find laxity of thoughts and actions in every society, so much so that a person talking of self-restraint is ridiculed as an orthodox person. Unfortunately, this is what is happening today, that people want all kinds of freedom, and they are not worried about the moral conduct, they are not worried about the sense gratification and so on, and they are engaged in sensual pleasures and other kinds of acts. Free life and not self-restraint has become common. So a person accustomed to free life is ultimately likely to drift away from the path of happiness and be pushed to the state of repentance. So if you are following such practices, what you call as a freedom, the so-called freedom, then you are likely to end up in unhappiness and repenting position. The mind becomes overwhelmed with passionate thoughts and loses strength to act normally. So you have these difficulties. The person loses dignity of human personality and greatness of human life. Human life is a great opportunity, and human personality, is highly desirable. What is that personality? It's not freedom, it's a life of dignity and life of respect, But this is not achieved by the so-called free actions and free conduct. An individual in this state is not able to subdue his mind and binds evil karma. So your mind becomes disturbed, your mind becomes impure if you are indulging in these kinds of freedom, and of course you bind karma. As far as the doctrine of conscience is concerned, you bind karma. The person loses the chance the human life has offered. The human life is very precious life. It has offered you a chance to do something good, to make some spiritual progress. So if you are indulging in this kind of freedom, you are in fact losing this chance that nature has offered you to be as a human person. This world is full of glamour, but a person of self-restraint does not fall prey to it. So this is a glamorous world, and the glamour attracts you, but you must be cautious not to fall prey to this kind of glamour, because then you are losing the chance to make yourself really human. And be constantly conscious of the danger of licentious life, So you must be always aware that this kind of life is going to lead you to in a very bad situation. Without self-restraint, the door of spiritual advancement and success in life is closed. So if you want to make advancement or advance in your life, in your goals, and if you want to have a spiritual progress, if you want to be a successful person, you must be cautious of this kind of freedom or so-called freedom. Another aspect which is important to good traits or good life or good lifestyle is the food habits. Food habits are very important for your life, and it determines the lifestyle you are having or you want to have. What are your food habits? Very important. And in this respect, we are talking of vegetarianism. Vegetarianism is practiced by all Jain followers, and it has advantages in various ways, and we will just go through these advantages of vegetarianism in various perspectives. Vegetarianism is a sign of compassion. That is the first thing, A vegetarian person is likely to be a compassionate person, And it also protects the animal rights, which is the talk of modern times. The animal rights must be protected, So a vegetarian person protects the animal rights. Apart from religious and human considerations, vegetarianism has ecological and economical dimensions. This is very important. We have been talking about vegetarianism from the religious point of view and from the human considerations, But besides or apart from these two, two more important considerations have now become obvious, and that is the ecological and environmental considerations and economical considerations. The economy of a country and the ecology and environment as such are very much related to food habits. Damage done to economy on account of producing animal food or nourishing the meat-eating habits is irreparable. It causes so much harm that it can't be repaired, if you are a meat-eating person, or then it causes, it impacts your economy and the ecology. A large chunk of food grains is set aside for forced breeding of livestock for the purpose of producing animal food. This is what is happening. A large part of the produce is going for animal food, and the animals are being raised only for the purpose of meat, So this is in fact a misuse of natural resources in a great way. For instance, the livestock in USA consumes 80% of soya and 90% of corn produced in the country. Look here, the colossal loss, So much of produce is being used only for the livestock. Why? Because they are to be raised for food. And in the United Kingdom, 90% of the agricultural land is used to produce feed for the livestock. Look here, almost entire land use is reserved for those animals, which are used for food. It's a colossal waste. Reduction in medical expenses, increase in exports, production of dung manure, and hence reduction in fertilizer bill, etc. would be additional benefits of vegetarianism. So besides the ecology and economy, there are other benefits we must consider. Non-vegetarian uses almost 10 times more manure or more natural resources, more natural resources than a vegetarian, and puts much more pressure on environment. A non-vegetarian person is using 10 times more natural resources than a vegetarian person. This is a big thing, and I explained here how this happens, What happens is that when you are feeding animals, the 90% of the calories or the energy produced from this food is used by metabolic activity of the animal. Only 10% of the total energy of the food or the feed is preserved as flesh or in the animal, So when the animals are being killed and the flesh or the meat is being recovered or produced from this, only 10% of the total energy which was fed to the animal is now coming to you. The 90% has gone west as in the metabolic activities of the animal itself. So this is how it is said that you are consuming 10 times more natural resources as compared to a vegetarian person. By reduced use of chemical fertilizers, the soil will be saved of loss of fertility, and the consumers will be saved of poisonous effect of chemicals, So this is additional advantage of being vegetarian. Conservation of groundwater is another important aspect connected with food habits. We talked of ecology just now, but now the question is of drinking water, which is scarce commodity now. And see how the drinking water is being misused simply because of your food habits. According to the Productivity Council of California, USA, the quantity of water required for the manufacture of 1 kilogram of the following commodities is as given here. How much water you use for producing 1 kg of eatables. For example, tomato uses 90 liters of water per kg of tomato. Potatoes use 92. Wheat uses 100. Carrots uses 125. Apples use 190. Oranges use 240. Grapes use 250. So far, this is all vegetarian product, and you see the use of water is so little. Now you go to milk. Milk uses 520 liters per kg of milk, This has been calculated. And then there is a jump. For producing 1 kilo of egg, you use 2000 liters per kg. It's sudden jump, you can see. Chickens, 3,200 liters. Pork, 4,800 liters. And meat, 10,000 liters per kg. So how much water is being wasted just to produce animal food? Look here, eggs, chickens, pork, meat. So if you are eating these things, you are consuming all your groundwater just for this, and nothing left for you to drink, Remember, the hectic rate at which animals are slaughtered for the purpose of procuring meat, it is only a matter of time that the drinking water becomes the scarcest commodity on earth, So you will not have drinking water for you, if you are continuing with the practice of meat eating. Besides these, there are health benefits of vegetarianism, In the ancient times also, the people were talking of good health, If the person is a vegetarian, he normally will have a good health. This was known. But now the medical sciences has proved by different kinds of studies what are the benefits of vegetarianism, and I have collected these data from net. You can verify them, and if you want you can study them and probably add to these points which I have just now mentioned, or I am going to mention. So good for heart health, number one, vegetarianism is good for heart health. Up to 1/3 less likely to die of hospitalized for heart disease. So you have a lesser risk of heart disease if you are a vegetarian, and this is based on study. Reduce cancer risk, prevents type 2 diabetes, lowers blood pressure, decreases asthma symptoms, promotes bone health, lower cholesterol levels, less risk of stroke and obesity, gives healthy skin, high fiber content, reduces depression, improves metabolism, reduces the risk of cataract development, manages weight, keeps your brain sharp, reduces risk of foodborne illness, increases lifespan, and of course it is economical, as we had discussed earlier. So many advantages of vegetarianism, which medical science has proved. So I like to go back to the beginning of the lecture, that to have a good lifestyle, you must try to imbibe the noble traits, the 5 ones which I talked of. Then you must be vegetarian, and there are reasons and grounds to be vegetarian. Even if you are not a religious person, even if you leave aside the human considerations, there are 2 important grounds on which will force you to become vegetarian, and these are the economic grounds and economical and environmental grounds. We are all aware of the climate change problems, and the food habits is one reason for climate change. You must be conscious of it, you must be aware of it, and you must take care to see that the climate is not affected by your food habits. Thank you.